ನಮಸ್ಕಾರು ಆಯ್ಚ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮಕ ಪದ್ಮಶ್ರೀ ಟಿವಿ ಮೋಹನ್ದಾಸ್ ಪೈ ಮಾಮ್ ಹನ್ನಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರದಕ್ಕೂ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಜತ್ತ ಸಚ್ಚಿ ಹಿ ನೀಡ್ಸ್ ನೋ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ತನ್ನಿ ಅತ್ತ ಮಣಿಪಾಲ್ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ಹಜ್ಜೆ ಚೇರ್ಮನ್ ಜಾವನ ಸಚ್ಚಿ ಹಿ ಲೆಡ್ ದ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ HR ಗ್ರೂಪ್ಸ್ at Infosys during its key growing years. He was also on the Infosys board for several years. He is involved with several non-profit organizations. Mohandas Pai Mam, welcome.
Namaskar. Puranki namaskar.
Len Gokarn here. Odiyal Dakuno, we have Sri Pradeep Pai, who is joining us, and he is the managing director of the very popular consumer brand Hangyo Ice Cream. I'm sure this makes him very popular with kids as well as adults during these hot summer months. He is involved with various Konkani charitable organizations and cultural initiatives such as the Vishwa Konkani Kendra as well as the Sevanjali Trust, among others. Pradeep Mam, welcome.
Namaskar.
ಆಯ್ಚ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮಕ ತುಮಕ್ ಪೂರ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಮೋಹನ್ದಾಸ್ ಮಾಮ್ ಅತ್ತ ಜುಲೈ 2020 ಅಮ್ಮಿ ಕೊಂಕಣಿ ಸಮ್ಮೇಳನ 4th of July to San Jose Kerka munle kile. You are going to be one of our keynote speakers. Jalari, या COVID-19 ना निमित्ती आमका नेक्स्ट इयर आका पोस्टपोन करका जाले. तश जावनो आता मी एक नव प्रोग्राम दवरले वर्चुअल प्रोग्राम घरांतू एक सान मिलन म्हणून. सो कोंकणी जोनाका ಒಟ್ಟು ಖರ್ಚು ವಿಷಯ ಅಂತೂ तुमಗೆಲ್ಲ कसा संदेश
आम्ही एक मस्त सान कम्युनिटी आमगे लोग 20 लाख लोग असते विश्वांतू आणि पुरा जनी भारतांत असते भारत देशात असते बाहेर असते अमेरिकान्स असते युरोपान्स असते ऑस्ट्रेलिया असते पुरा कडे असते आणि एक व्हेरी स्मॉल कम्युनिटी त्याकत्री आम्ही वट्टू जॉको जलारी आम्ही एक प्लॅटफॉर्म करका विश्व कोंकणी केंद्रांतू एक प्लॅटफॉर्म केला जलारी लोग आमगे लोग अमेरिकान असलारी युरोप तनी एक प्लॅटफॉर्म कोनो वर्षा एक पटी वट्टू पुरा जने एक ओड सम्मेलन करका वर्षा एक पटी करका इतमलारी वर्षा एक पटी केलारी पुरा जने वट्टू जावनो वट्टू येताती त्याकत्री एक annual meeting केलारी आमगे वट्टू वच्चे जाता आणि कसं कामलारी आम्ही एक आमगेले सान एक कम्युनिटी का समाजक आम्ही एक अजेंडा करका अजेंडा 2030 कोंकणी अजेंडा 2030 त्या अजेंडा अंतू आमगेले समाज 2030 तो कसं जाव का कई रोचु का किश जाव का पूरा एक आलोचन कोनु एक करका आम्ही विश्व कोंकणी केंद्रांतू एक सान प्रोग्राम 2010 अंतू सूर केलेले प्रदीप मामाले लीडरशिप करी रामदास कांतीले लीडरशिप आरी आणि ते आम्ही एक प्रोग्राम केले मस्त एक पॉइंट्स असले ते प्रोग्राम मिती आज 25,000 स्टुडंट्स स्टुडंट्स स्कॉलरशिप मेळ्ळा करीब एक 200 स्टुडंट्स बायचनो शिकतसती आणि एक अलुमनाय असोसिएशन कोनो आम्ही एक व्हर्च्युअल कम्युनिटी केला ते कम्युनिटी करका म्हणून एक बसतास असता इथे म्हळारी आम्ही वट्टू जावन आमची एक आस सुका आम्ही एक ट्रुली ग्लोबल कम्युनिटी करताती आणि ग्लोबल कम्युनिटी आमगेले इंटरॅक्शन असता इंटरॅक्शन मितरी एक बॉन्डिंग येता बॉन्डिंग मितरी आम्ही वट्टू जावन मुखार वचू येतो म्हणून अनेक कसं जावका म्हणारी वी शुड हॅव ए लार्ज गोल आम्ही 2030 कसं जावका म्हणून फर्स्ट सुरेख वी हॅव टू बी ए ग्लोबल कम्युनिटी इथे म्हणारी आम्ही एक सान समाज पोड समाज ने भारतांतू 137 करोड लोक असती आम्ही 20 लाख असतील मितरी आमगे काय पॉलिटिकल पॉवर ना काय ना आम्ही एक मायनॉरिटी आर्टिकल 29-30 आमगेले इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तिला काय बेनिफिट मिळना आम्ही वट्टू जावन आमगे चिल्ड्रन चांग शिक्षण दिवनो तांचे एक नॉलेज बेस्ड सोसायटींतू काम करचे अपॉर्च्युनिटी दिवका तांचे भितर आम्ही एक आर्थिक स्थिती आमगेले मस्त चांग देता अनेक कसं म्हणारी आमगे कोंकणी समाजांतू भारत वर्षांतू आम्ही पुरा असती मस्जन असती कोणी एक दे शुड बी नो पॉवर्टी आम्ही पुरा विंगडा पुरा हेल्प करका आणि आमगेले कल्चर आमगेले भाषा आमगेले म्युझिक आमगेले कथा आमगेले पुरा कल्चरल आर्टिफॅक्ट्स वट्टू कोण एक प्लॅटफॉर्म कोण करका आमचे सपन कसं म्हणारी आम्ही ग्लोबल कम्युनिटी जावन आमगेले कल्चर आमगेले भाषे आमगेले amgele Joanna, amgele cuisine, pura what to kono, te amgele euche pidika, amik divno, tangel heritage preserve karka, mono asasa, takatri ek global platform, global community karka, yehi me amgel pura sapna.
So thank you for that, Mohandas bhai ma'am. So तुम्ही सांगली की 2030 म्हणून. So you led Infosys. You know how to bring communities together, companies together, and you are there to have large goals for, at Infosys when you started. I think it was a very small company, and because of your vision like you were able to bring, to company to such an extent. You were able to bring the company, at kasala, IPO at New York Stock Exchange, which was never heard, right? So those are large goals, and I'm so happy that you are having such vision. So आम्ही तशें खातीर आतां 2030 तुमी सांगलें we should have a goal. So worldwide कोंकणी जनांतन तूं कशी join जावेता?
But our English aulita,
Right.
we have to create a global community for the important reason that we are a very small community in India and globally. We are not large in numbers. So
Right.
our strength is not in numbers.
Right.
Our strength should be the power of our intellect, should be the power of our knowledge, should be the power of our economic condition. And for that, we have to come together. And when you come together, create a network through the web or through a portal, a Konkani portal where everybody can interact, what happens? We can have business connections. The business connections will help. We can help each other access jobs in various countries. We can make sure our children have contacts with other Konkani speaking young people to marry. So many of our children are marrying outside the community. Many of us are married outside the community. And the reason is very clear. Since we're very small, we don't meet Konkanis anywhere. And since we don't meet Konkanis anywhere, we don't interact with Konkanis. And we fall in love. Of course, it's a nice thing to do, and we marry. But our children don't grow up with a culture. So I think it's important for the Konkani community to come together, to know each other, and to develop friendship with people and young people all around the world, and to develop kinship. And the next important thing is we should help each other economically to make sure that everybody gets a good opportunity in life to live their dream. Everybody has got a dream. Now in India, there are very poor Konkanis all over. People who require help for scholarship, people who live in poverty. We must do DBT, direct benefit transfer. If each good Konkani family were to adopt another one Konkani family for 5 years and give them some money, say 4,000 or 5,000 rupees a month for 5 to 6 years or maybe 10 years, we can make sure in 10 years' time we become a very economically strong community. And then we must make sure we interact for cultural events. We must preserve our history, write our history, write about a culture. Every family's history should be written. A family tree should be created. And we must document all our dancers, our cuisines, our artifacts, our dresses, etc. We must create a museum in Mangalore where all this can be displayed. And we must create a virtual museum on the web. All our old literature should be collected in one place, maybe translated into English or any other language so that we understand what our Konkani community is. There's so many things to do. So on the cultural front, economic front, on the people front, on the community front, we should create platforms. And the platforms can be like the Vishwa Konkani Kendra in India. It can be like the American Konkani Association, the European Konkani Association, the UK Konkani Association, because it has to be smaller groups coming together in a federation. And the federation can be linked to Mangalore or any other place. And like I said, there should be a tiered organization structure, and each organization will have their own objectives. And the most important objectives is to bring the community together. And once a year, we meet somewhere. Maybe 10,000, 20,000 people can meet. Maybe go to Las Vegas. Las Vegas, 20,000 people can meet. Or come to Mangalore once in 4 years, where all of us can congregate, meet each other, go to the Ther season and do so many things. I think the important thing is to create kinship and contacts between people and make them all come together on one single virtual platform. And today, because of technology, we have the ability to be virtual, which is a much more powerful way of connecting rather than meeting people physically, which is very difficult.
So as a follow-up question, in your career, in your job, you have traveled a lot, seen a lot of the world, and heard and known of stories where different communities have adapted to various conditions, both business, certain political events. So we as a Konkanis, what can we do that we can uniquely learn from different models or different cultures that we can adapt to the Konkani language?
Well, I think we should learn from the Jewish community and the Jewish community. See, the Jewish were a homeless people for 2000 years. They have been persecuted in every country except maybe in India. It's only after the Balfour Declaration, I think in sometime possibly in 1926, after the First World War, did they start getting a homeland of Israel, what was then Palestine, and they made the country together after the Second World War. And today they got their own country, they got their own language, like that. And similarly, we are like the Jews in India. We have a homeland in Goa. Goa has now become a state, but Goa was occupied by the Portuguese and we were persecuted by the Portuguese for many years. The Goan Inquisition destroyed many people who converted to Christianity or remained Hindus. Our temples were destroyed, our history was destroyed, our language was sought to be taken away. So we have been through all this persecution and we have suffered, but we still survive. And now we are distributed all over, right? So we must take cues from them. What are the Jews done? The Jews have formed a World Jewish Organization. They help each other. They make sure they support each other. They invest back into the homeland, that's Israel. They make sure the Israelis can get good education in the United States, and they form a political lobby to protect their interest. And by doing that and focusing on learning, they created great scientists, mathematicians, businessmen, bankers, etc. Now we also have great bankers, scientists, mathematicians in our community, right? So we must focus on education. We must focus on knowledge creation. We must focus on technology because that is where the future of the world is. We must focus on innovation. And for that, higher education is very important. We must be the most highly educated community in India, like the Jewish community are. I think we study the Jewish community, the answer for us is all there. And because of the international Jewish community and the investment they make, Hebrew, their old language, has come alive. They speak Hebrew in Israel. Now, we don't speak Konkani all over the place. So if we lose our language, what binds us together? What binds people together is language. Because the language conveys culture, conveys history, conveys relationship, conveys affection, conveys love for our fellow human beings. And all the thing is part of our heritage. When we're small children, our mothers used to sing lullabies for us, right, in Konkani. Now, do Konkani mothers sing lullabies to their children in Konkani? They do it in English or in any some other language. They've forgotten all that. And why is that? Because for a young child, to the mother singing a lullaby in Konkani, we pass on the culture, we pass on language. Like that, the preservation of our identity as a group, because we are all Konkanis, preservation of identity as a group is very important. And like I keep telling everybody, all of us have multiple identities. Now, you people are in the United States. You are US citizens. You are Americans. And after being Americans, you are American citizens. You live in California or Texas. You are Texans. You're Californians, right? You have a first association with the city. You may be in LA, you may in San Francisco, etc. And then after that, you are a Konkani. You are a GSB or a SB or whatever you are. Karvi could be whatever you are. You are the community, right? So there's a hierarchy of identity. Each of the identities come together to make up what you are. And all this identity needs to be invested in. So we must look at being Konkani as one of the identities which has to be invested in, because that is the core that unites us together. I mean, at a different level. And to me, getting all this thing together is very, very important. Now, I didn't pay much attention to all this till about 2010. Till about 2010, I was busy with my work at Infosys. I used to travel. I didn't care whether as a Konkani, somebody was this. We were free with each other. We went everywhere else. And then, they called me the Vishwa Konkani Kendra. I thought about it and said, my children are growing up. They carry my name, but I've not taught them Konkani. Now, when they grow up, they carry my name as Pai. What will they carry? What will they give their children? How am I conveying my culture? So I was a bit apprehensive as to what is going to happen and a bit insecure. And I thought we must all come to in the community and make sure we preserve our culture, our language, because if we don't do that, we'll be like an empty shell. We'll have an outer appearance, but inside will be hollow because we have forgotten our roots. Our roots are very important. We have deep roots. We are denizens of the Saraswati River. We have a 5,000, 6,000 year history, right? But we've forgotten most of the history, and the history binds us. So I think this is important.
Thank
you, Mohandas. You've spoken from your mind today. Thank you for that. And speaking of mind, today I want to change the subject a little bit. At the Amgele Purakadena COVID-19 situation, and you work with several organizations and businesses, right? So, a question, Kasamalari, do you think there are any lasting impact on communities and businesses because of something like this?
Yeah, there is a lasting impact because, to my mind, COVID-19 is an inflection point in human history.
Right.
First of all, politically, the global architecture of political power was based on the Second World War. Second World War, where there were victories, there were victors, the allies were the victors. So the West created this kind of an architecture, and the institution like the IMF and the World Bank, based upon the dominant economic powers at that point of time, were the winners in the war. And that is living till today. But the world has changed. Then came the Cold War with Soviet Russia. Soviet Russia is now gone. United States became the greatest global power after the Second World War. It dethroned Great Britain, started the process of decolonization, and then we've seen the rise of Japan. We've seen the rise of Germany. Now Germany is getting older. Japan is shrinking in population. China has come up. So we are in the new world. And in this new world, the OECD, developed country share of global GDP, is going to be less than the emerging markets by 2025. So this pandemic is accelerated the process of the emerging market and the rest of the world coming up. The rise of Asia, the rise of China, the rise of India is going to be there. So this pandemic will accelerate the process of reshaping of the globe, of the geopolitical status of the entire world. And that, to my mind, is very big because the global supply chain will change from China, because people have found they depend on China. And then they will also see that China is becoming a hegemon to try to dominate the world in the South China Sea. It had its clash with India at the border, and we stood firm and we pushed them back. And we have seen that America is trying to come together with India to, as a quad, along with Japan and Australia, to take on China and make sure there is peace around the world. Second, we are seeing the impact of technology. The digital world has taken over. All our habits have changed. We have been logged in for 60 days, 75 days, 90 days, and we communicate to each other to Zoom right now. We can't meet each other. We get telehealth. We do entertainment through the devices. We talk to our family through video. We buy through e-commerce, and we do education through the tablet. So everything has changed. So business models have changed. The world has come together, so everything will leverage through technology. The third is the rise of the great digital monopolies. Even among business, the biggest companies to the world are the digital monopolies. I mean, Apple is worth $1.5 trillion. You got Microsoft worth $1.5 trillion. You got Google worth $1.3 trillion. You got Amazon worth 1.3, 1.5 trillion. Now NVIDIA has joined the gang, etc. They are ruling because, in the digital world, all of us have become piece of data. And this data is very important. So our identity, our history, everything is become available to somebody else. So how do we counter the digital monopolies? That is the thing that world has to answer. Because today, the concentration of wealth, concentration of power everywhere else is the virtual world. The digital world, the virtual world has become as important as the physical world to impact. And that means new laws are going to come. Last point is that the way we live, the way we interact with each other is changing dramatically. And that means we're going to have a before COVID and after COVID world, and the after COVID world is going to be very different. So the geopolitical landscape is going to be very different. The technology landscape is going to be very different. The business landscape is going to be very different. And the social landscape is going to be very different, because the social landscape is going to be about communities who have come together. And now we are seeing United States and other countries, old wounds come up. The Black Lives Matter is stirring up the United States, and we are going to see some kind of reaction from people, and a new way of social thinking may come up. So we could also see globalization in retreat. The last 30 years, I've seen globalization where we came together, we could see it in retreat. So we're entering a very new era, a new world, which is accelerated by COVID, and the new world is going to be very different. Now, the key thing for all of us to understand and to realize is, how do we survive and grow and prosper in the new world? And to survive and grow and prosper in the new world, we must embrace change. We must embrace technology, use technology for our benefit. We must create networks. We must save for the future, because we could be under severe shock. We don't know how employment is going to be. We don't know how economic opportunities are going to be. And we must help each other all around the world so that the community together, we can prosper. So these are my thoughts about the impact. But one thing is very clear. This is an inflection point for the entire world. And the old ways of doing things are giving way to the new ways. And what the new way exactly is, not many can tell.
Thank you. Thank you. So, let's take it to a local level. So, this next question, Pradeep by Tumka. how is COVID-19 affecting people and businesses in Kodyal Antani? Kashi affect jatta sir?
COVID COVID-19 has definitely affected all the businesses. I can say Q1 compared to last year, maybe around less than 50% all over. So only IT and digital are doing well. All other businesses are having a difficult time, at least for next another 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
Janak affect jalla munjalari. Are they seeking help? And kashi are they helping each other? Kashi jatta sir?
No, last March, April, when the first lockdown was announced, Mohandas was very kind. Immediately he called me and he said, all daily earners we should look at, and we should support the daily who are earning in our Konkani community. So immediately we raised the funds through all the donors of our community, including from US. We raised almost $52,000 and given 549 families every week 1,000 rupees, which is a idea of Shri TV Mohandas Pai, to support them for 6 weeks. 6 weeks we supported. Just after 6 weeks, again he called me and he told, can we do it for another 3 months? Can one person adopt one family for 3 months? Then I again spoke to Naresh Shanai of Sevanjali Trust. He is very active in voluntary services with a good team. So he agreed. Again, he launched a program called Dana Shura Karna. And again, 80 families are identified. And resources also we are trying to take on. Even Gopal Bhandarkar mom has recently transferred $10,000 from KCF 2-3 days back. GS Sabha from London have transferred 2,000 pounds. We'll try to utilize this for supporting this 80 families for next 3 months.
Okay. So, that is wonderful to know how we are helping. And I'm sure we are targeting these solutions to Konkanis or other families that are below the poverty line.
Yes.
And so I think some of the trust that you are associated with, Sevanjali, is also helping not only in this. What are the other causes that you support and work on as a part of your charitable activity?
Sevanjali is doing a wonderful job. It is under the presidency of Vedavyas Kamath, our young MLA, and convener is Naresh Shanai. They are really doing a good job. During last 60-75 days, they have served food daily, free to all the doctors, ASHA workers, every day, even to migrant laborers in Mangalore. And at more than 300 old age people, they served whatever requirements in last 60-75 days. They reach for any concern of our community to the residents in Mangalore. It's a really pride to us. They are working really hard.
Right.
Even at World Konkani Center, on the advice of Shri TV Mohandas Pai, we along with Akshay Patra, we could distribute almost 2,500 food kits, grocery kits, to different below poverty line Konkani speaking community like Kharvi, Kunbi, Chaptekars, Vaishavani, even GSB, which is amounting to almost 52,000 meals. That's also done. Even Sevanjali parallelly done to non-Konkanis also. Vedavyas has distributed, according to me, not less than 35,000 kits to non-Konkanis, to all these grocery kits, which can give food for about 21 days.
So we are coming to an end. Any final thoughts from you, Pradeep Pai, or Mohandas Pai, ma'am?
Sir, I just wish this Gharanthu ek Saan Milan, a great program organized by under the leadership of Shri Ram Acharya ma'am and all their organizers, especially Vasant Shana and Milan. And I wish this function will go well with all the spectators all over the world.
Yeah, well, I'm very happy to be interacting with all of you. Pradeep and I had come for the last Sammelana, and we spoke and we enjoyed meeting with all of you. And then there has been a lull. And that's why we say we should have an annual event, and the annual event can be in any part of the world, so that we all look forward to this. Maybe 1 year in Europe, once in 4 years at least in Bangalore. And we must create this kind of networks where we can all be together. And I would appeal to you and all your members to come together and create a global Konkani community, because our motivation is the welfare of a community. Our motivation is the welfare of our young people. Our motivation is the welfare of the countries where we all reside. Our first loyalty is to the country where we reside. That there is no doubt. And after that, we have to take care of our communities where we stay. On that, there's no doubt. And then we have to take care of a community to which we belong. Because, our karma bhumi is important. Our janma bhumi is important. Our dharma bhumi is also important. And then you must also focus on Goa. For so many of us, Goa is a dharma bhumi. Maybe Mangalore, that coastal belt, dharma bhumi. We must invest back into our temples, into our culture, into our mosques, into our holy places, because they also are organizations which carry the aspiration of the community forward. But if all of us come together, help each other, and inspire each other to be part of the community, and many people get benefits in the community, we will create an extremely strong community. And the dream is by 2030, we'll be a truly global, we are already a global economically dominating, culturally and socially strong community, which will get the respect of all people around the world.
Madam, Mohandas Pai Ma'am and Pradeep Pai, doga janaka mastu dhanyawadu. So thank you. Very nice talking to you.
Namaskar. Thank you very much. Thank you, and all the best, and have fun. All the best to all of you. Thank you.